Have you ever seen someone use their status to get away with something unforgivable? Before I got full custody of my 7-year-old daughter Bella, she had a pretty awful life. Her mom convinced the court that I was unfit to parent on the grounds that I had a public intoxication charge back when I was in college. But while Bella was in the clutches of my ex-wife, her stepdad basically treated her as a human punching bag. And I knew this because whenever I'd sneakily find a way to see her, visiting her at school during lunch break, showing up to her after-school activities, she always had a new bruise or cut on her tiny self. So the second I was given full custody, I made a promise to myself that I'd protect her at all costs. Fast forward to a few months later, when we were at the local food court. I was sipping my cold brew watching Bella color in the kids' menu. It was a rare moment of parental peace when everything seemed right with the world. And suddenly, Bella looked up and frantically started waving at someone outside of our booth. I looked over and saw a man with a 1,000-yard stare, not a hair on his head. Very creepy. Once I really paid attention, I noticed his arm frantically moving up and down under the table. I strained my neck to further inspect and saw his belt had been undone and his trousers were halfway down his legs. Chills went up my spine. Bella was so young that I didn't want to ruin her innocence by telling her what was going on. But I knew why that sick bastard was really looking at her, so I immediately moved to sit beside her. Hey Bella, I think you should focus on your coloring. My voice was assertive, strict. Luckily, she redirected her focus, and that's when the manager walked by our table. Hey, do you see that nice man over there? I tilted my head towards his table. Have you noticed? I let my eyes finish the story. When the manager went over to talk, both of the old man's hands came into view. I noticed a hospital bracelet wrapped around his wrist, and his eyes flashed with genuine confusion. My eyebrows furrowed, and I honestly didn't know what the F was going on. While the manager talked, his hands began to shake. Was it Parkinson's? I felt my cheeks flush with embarrassment for causing a scene, but just as I was about to stop looking and forget about it, the manager started yelling, "Give me your effing phone right now." He was 6'5" and very muscular, so his words were intimidating. The old man gave a tight smile, like he knew there was no talking his way out. As soon as the phone was placed on the table unlocked, I saw it. He was on the Photos app, and there were dozens of photos of Bella, angles from under the table, close-ups of her face, everything. And even though I wanted to slam him against the sidewalk until his brains were minced meat, I did nothing. Because if I really wanted to keep Bella safe, the first thing I had to do was shield her from the situation. "Daddy, what's going on with my waving friend?" She asked it so innocently that it practically broke my heart. In a moment of quick thinking, I demanded that she go and use the toilet, because we were going to leave soon. The coldness in my voice made her sad, but I didn't care, because it got her to listen. I walked over and grabbed the man's phone to make sure I wasn't just seeing things. Every part of me recoiled. In his camera roll were labeled folders filled with photos of different children. Brunette one from playground, ginger one from the beach, blonde one that hit puberty early. There weren't just 3 or 4 either, there were dozens. I swear my finger was scrolling for a solid minute before I got to the end of his depraved collection. That's when Bella returned. I walked her over to the supervised play area of the mall and told her I'd be back soon. It was a rare moment where her emotions didn't matter to me, because her safety came first. So even as tears were streaming down her face because she thought she'd done something wrong, I frankly didn't give an F. I walked back to the food court, expecting to see the old man being beaten to a pulp by the other men who had seen what was going on, but instead, they were hugging him. One was even patting his back. "Don't worry, we understand," he reassured. I genuinely wished I had an AK-47 in my hands. "What the F are you thinking? This man just assaulted my baby girl." "Yo, relax, brother," the manager interrupted. "We just called the old man's son and found out he's an ex-veteran. His brain is messed up. He can't help himself." He said it like it was the most reasonable, justified explanation known to mankind. I glanced over at the old man, who had a faint smirk plastered on his face. My dad was an ex-veteran. My granddad was an ex-veteran. None of them struggled to not be a kitty-fiddling piece of shit. Every bone in my body was screaming at me to pick him up and crush him like an insect. But I didn't. Instead, I just smiled. "Oh, my bad," I exclaimed sweetly. And that R-worded old man bought it. He really thought I had fallen for his little ex-veteran piece. But no, I was playing the long game. And by the time I was finished with him, he'd wish that he had died in whatever war he came from. The rest of the full story is on my channel and linked below.